there in YouTube land. Rival here. Thanks for stopping by. As you can see, we've got something special on the turntable for you this week. This is a overview and review of the Stedemon Thunderfury dagger. I got this from a Bladeforums passaround. You can get these on Blade HQ and a couple other sites as well. So this is what we're looking at. Comes in a pretty sweet pelican-like case. Nice case for what this is. I took a peek at the price on these. They're around $330 as of the time I'm posting this. So not the cheapest offering in the world. A little bit more expensive than you're going to spend on a lot of the ZT offerings or Benchmade offerings, things like that. But you're getting something pretty interesting for it. You're getting a nearly 10-inch knife. It is a Bohler M390 steel, full titanium frame lock, flipper, ball bearings, milled clip, pretty much everything you'd expect from a high-end titanium flipper folder these days. You've got a nice blue anodizing with some satin flats. So like I said, this is part of a pass-around, so I'm sure you can see some of these scratches and scuffs and things like that. I'm like the 5th person on the list, and these things usually get used and abused when they're on those types of pass-arounds. So the fact that it's gone through 5 weeks of heavy use before coming into my hands and is still in good shape speaks for the overall construction quality. It's 3.5 ounces. For this knife with a 4 1/4 inch blade. Again, M390 steel. It looks like it's double ground. It's not double ground. Makes me sad. I wish it was double ground. This side is a false edge. You can see right there. This side, though, is practically 0 ground, and it is crazy sharp. Not the sliciest. You know, if you're going through an apple, you're going to get to a point where it's going to split because it is a little thick in the middle. I'll put the full specs in the description below. The blade, you know, obviously the grind doesn't go all the way to the middle, and it's a rather slim knife. This is, what, like 1/2 inch, maybe 3/4 of an inch wide. It's not very wide at all. And when you fold it, you can see you've got the upper edge protruding from the handle as opposed to... Sorry guys, could have been a little bit more prepared. Something like this. This is the Hinderer Maximus. I've got a review video on this if you look at some of the previous videos too. This is a full double edge. Both edges are sharpened. And then you can see the whole knife goes into the blade. Again, it's slightly protruding. You know, it's deceptive because they've got this sweet little pivot. And I do like the logo and the placement of that pivot. Pivot looks centered here. When you look here, it's actually off center. That's because the nameplate of the pivot actually goes through like the very side edge of this little nameplate here, a little deceiving. But a cool little trick nonetheless, so that once it is in the flipped open position, everything is back to being completely symmetrical. Same designing on this edge as is on this side. You see I got 2 standoffs there. Again, a milled clip with the billboard of the knife company, Stedemon Knives. I could go with, you know, this nice little logo here at the upper edge of this clip. We don't need all that stuff. That being said, it's a decent clip for a milled clip. I mean, it's springy enough, it's milled enough where it's very functional. The flipper, so the flipping tab is slightly protruding here. You've got a little bit more showing on the top, again, because of how the blade is offset to achieve the look. But it flips well. It's got ball bearings in it, especially for such a skinny knife. That's pretty sweet. And again, it's 4 1/4 inches. Let's give you an idea of how big this is with a comparison. So here's the Hinderer Maximus. I mean, it like dwarfs this thing, man. This is what, like 3.5 inch blade. Here, speaking of dwarfing a knife, here's the 450. Yes, it's got a custom scale on there, but completely dwarfs a 450 CF. And then a 462, another ZT, but this one at least has a 4-inch blade on it. It's got the 4 1/4 inch blade, and again, it shows you how much bigger it is compared. So it is a big knife, big boy knife for sure. But again, it's 3.5 ounces, so it doesn't carry like a humongous thing, other than the fact that the handle is 5.5 inches long. You know, if you're in a pair of shorts and you got shallow pockets, this thing probably isn't going to be riding in there. But if you got deep pockets, you know, if you're like me, you wear carpenter jeans a lot, something like that, this would fit in that special pocket, utility pocket on the right-hand side. It'll fit good in a deep pocket. But you get a lot of blade and a lot of cutting power in a very slim and lightweight package as a result of the design. So I think that's pretty cool. The design, I think that's what's going to get a lot of people. I think it's a love it or hate it kind of thing. I kind of like the aesthetic that they're going with. I like the cutouts. I like the coloration. I like daggers. I like dagger grinds. Some of you guys probably just aren't going to dig it simply because it's a dagger grind, and I completely understand that. But if dagger grinds don't bother you, it's got a funky futuristic kind of feel to it. But it is definitely very usable. I actually had this thing out in the garden this weekend, and I was trimming back my tomato plant. And again, it's nearly a 0 ground knife. That secondary edge is super fine. So I had it all stropped up, and I was just out there and just giving branches and limbs a little whack and cutting right through them if I needed to trim that tomato plant back. So that was pretty sweet, pretty nice, and it's nice and thin and fine. You can sneak it in a lot of places and snap something off or cut something off. So pretty nice. What else to tell you about this knife? The Stedemon Knife Company, so they're a Chinese company. I reviewed another one of their knives maybe 2 years ago, the Bastion. That was a big, beefy folder, a big flipper. Very nice quality. It held up very well. And so the quality that you're getting from this company is definitely on the higher end, definitely equivalent to something I'd see coming out of like those Wee Knives shops. I've not seen Stedemon do anything like Riate's doing with some of the higher end materials, but the M390, the milled titanium, it's a very nice package overall. Flipping action, very smooth. Again, it's on the studs. It's got that milled clip. The cutout for the lock bar, funky as opposed to just one big milled pocket. They got 3 lines in there. Works good enough. It does have the lock bar insert. The lock bar does have an over travel puck that sticks out the back just a smidge. So, I mean, this knife really packs in a lot of features. The price, the shape, and the size are probably the things that are gonna get somebody if they're gonna say, hey, not quite for me. It definitely has that funky futuristic aesthetic for sure. All in all, I was pleasantly surprised. I wasn't quite sure what I'd be in for with something like this. Like I said, I like dagger grinds. My biggest criticisms, I'd love for this to be a true double edge. I think you could easily just give this and make this just a smidge wider, and it'd still be very comparable to a knife that's very comfortable and easy to carry, leaving the blade width and shape the way it is. Maybe trim it down to like a 3.5, 3.25 inch blade as opposed to a 4-inch blade. There's a lot of people that just aren't going to be able to carry it because of legality, or because of size. They just don't have the pockets big enough to hold a 4.25 inch behemoth blade. But hey, if you're interested in carrying a big ass knife, this is one that should definitely pique your interest. It's not going to break down your pocket, and it's something cool to get people talking when you pull it out. Yeah, that's what she said. That's what I got on the turntable for you this week. Got a couple of pimp jobs coming up for you, and a couple of the ZT Sprint runs just landed in my mailbox, so we'll take a look at those pretty quick here. Thanks for stopping by. Like and subscribe. Peace.